What's up, internet friends? Lyle Hebel, Mountain Tough president. We have a really awesome podcast for you today. Dustin is talking to our one of our favorite guests, Philip Winchester. In an excitement for that, we are actually giving away a pair of Sig Sauer Zulu image stabilizing Binos. To enter, it's really easy. You just need to jump over to the Mountain Tough Podcast, find the same episode, go on ahead and like that episode, make a comment, and then subscribe to the channel. Be sure to make that comment. That is how we pick the winner, is by those comments. So go on ahead and give us a clever comment. We'd love to hear from you.
You said this morning that you feel like one of the greatest things we can do is just realize that God has designed this beautiful adventure for us. And it is an adventure. And an adventure is covered with adversity, but there's nothing wrong with that adversity because adversity is what makes us all grow.
Makes us better. Yeah.
How would you expand upon that?
I think that, going back to what we were talking about a little bit ago about becoming comfortable and trusting our own way.
What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Mountain Tough Podcast. It is our goal every single week to bring you an inspiring guest that helps you level up that mental toughness, that mental fitness, add some tools to that toolbox so that you can be always ready and live the abundant life. If you are a brand new listener, I do want to make sure you know that as a listener to the Mountain Tough Podcast, you do have the opportunity to do 6 weeks of free training on the Mountain Tough app. All you need to do to take advantage of that exclusive offer is enter the code MOUNTAINPOD at checkout. So mountaintough.com, enter the code MTNPOD, and that's going to get you 6 weeks of free training on Mountain Tough Plus. Shifting over to today's episode, you might notice I'm not in my studio today in Bozeman. I'm down here with Trevor from Mountain Ops in the ConquerCast studio. We just finished an awesome episode for his show that you guys will see available here in a month or so. On the Mountain Tough show today, we have a friend of mine, Philip Winchester. Philip is an actor. You may have seen him in his most recent show that did extremely well on Netflix, Ransom Canyon. He's an amazing, amazing guy. We finished up an amazing day. We actually took Philip out into Montana. We took him rattlesnake hunting before recording this episode, did a workout, and then recorded live right here in the Bozeman lab. So please stand by for my conversation with Philip Winchester.
That was good. It was a big day, man.
It was a big day.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's you kind of got to go, okay, you got to dig deep again and be like, all right, let's talk.
I know. Yeah, I like doing them at the end, though, because, we've gone through so much, just even in the day. Like, the workout was awesome, working out with the team.
Yeah.
Good lift today.
Everyone's guards down at the end of the day. You're like, all right, we can talk about this.
Yeah.
It's like the campfire moment, right?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, that was awesome. We talked a lot about on the trip just how beautiful Montana is and just how lucky we are to live here.
Yeah. I remember growing up here, like, that wasn't a factor, you just being a kid, just not knowing what was in front of you. Just that youthful mindset of like, it's where we live. It's no big deal. And then you leave, and I remember my dad saying to me, he's like, you live in a beautiful place, you go explore the world, but I bet you'll come back one day. I was like, I'm never coming back to Montana. Are you kidding me? And then we were working on a job in South Africa, which is another beautiful part of the world. And my wife came back here, and we had those like little Nokia 6210s or what are they? Like the little, she was like, I found a house. I was like, oh gosh, can we afford it? And she's like, yeah, I think so. And sending me text message pictures that were like coming through like little bit at a time, like dot pictures,
Took so long.
And we came back, and man, I'm so grateful.
How many years have you been back?
Gosh, man, I think it's 13 years this summer.
Wow.
Yeah. And really, we didn't get to appreciate it until COVID.
Mm-hmm.
We were right up to COVID pretty much, like 2019 when my second daughter was born. We were living in New York City. And then we finished that job, came back here. We were here that end of that year, and then COVID hit, and we were like, oh my gosh. I'm so grateful we have a home in Montana.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the world went nuts.
We were in a good spot during COVID, though.
We really were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a different atmosphere being here than like LA or New York.
Oh my gosh. I did a trip to Kenya, October of 2020. And I flew down to LAX, and I remember going to LAX, and I had some pictures when I used to have social media, and it was like entire flight crews in hazmat suits walking through the concourse. And just like, I was sitting there thinking, really? Is this what it's going to be like now? And LAX was like, hazmat taped off. Like none of the shops were open. Mm-hmm. Sort of this really dystopian, I have this really dystopian memory of, there was like a J'adore commercial on one of those huge Jumbotron televisions. And it was like Halle Berry or somebody. And it wasn't Halle Berry. But anyway, like just, walking through, and it's like J'adore. And there was barbed wire fences and shit around it. And you were like,
so weird.
Really? This is what we're going to do?
Yeah.
This is so wild, man. And then I got on a KLM flight from Los Angeles to Amsterdam. And there was like 6 people on the plane. Like a wide body, big ass plane, just empty. There was more air stewardesses than I think there were people on the plane. It was just crazy.
It was a bizarre time to be alive.
Oh, man. But yeah, so we've, really grateful. And that was my wife's decision. She was like, baby, let's go back to Montana. And I was like, I can't do what I do in Montana.
Yeah.
And she was like, well, yeah, but we'll have it. We'll have it as a recharge, I thought, well, yeah, okay, I think that's a good idea. This time we were living in Dublin. We were doing a show in Dublin for Stars. And she was like, we don't have to be there all the time. We'll just use it as a recharge. And when you work, they put you up, they fly you and put you up. So we'll have that place to go back to. Plug into family and things like that. And we hadn't even talked about having kids yet.
Yeah.
And so when the kiddos came along, again, that was like, just another one of those reminders of just like, oh man, God, you've been working behind the scenes here. Mm-hmm. And we're near a school, all those things. You just didn't even cross my mind.
Yeah.
As a young married man, just God working all the time behind the scenes, bro.
What a blessing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
What a blessing. I was thinking even today, what we did today, there's a big theme for Mountain Tough all year that I've been talking to people a lot, and we've been talking to the community a lot about, is how we all need adventure in our life.
Right.
And that a lot of people aren't taking them, and a lot of men aren't taking them, even though that they should be. And just being out there on adventure and being like bringing that childlike side of you out and just exploring, just even in micro doses can have such a huge, huge impact.
Yeah.
But it's kind of becoming a lost art form in our society.
Sure, man. Sure.
I think that related to what you were talking about, I think, in Bozeman and in Montana, we don't see it as lost as when you travel to some other places.
Right.
But because almost everyone moves here for adventure, whether that's skiing or kayaking or fishing or hunting.
Yeah, you get a spring break or a break at school, and the conversation with the parents outside while you're waiting for your kids is, what are you doing over the break?
Yeah.
You camping, you fishing, you hunting? Like what? Like one of the big things. What are you doing?
And so adventure's kind of abundant here, but it's still, there's still people that are struggling to not get out there and do stuff. But I think today was a good example of just how you can do it in micro doses, and it totally charges you up.
Dude, it was great, man. Hunting rattlesnakes.
It's like, hunting rattlesnakes, but it's just stepping into the unknown. It's the stepping into the unknown that really makes it special.
Like every footfall, I was thinking about every footfall in this field where I grew up. Funny, dude. I mean, hunting gophers where this building probably stands. My grandpa had his ranch just to the south of here. And you don't think about that. And then today it was like, okay, this is a different adventure. We're hunting snakes, venomous snakes.
Crazy.
It's great, man. It's great. It's funny, I think that one of the things I wrestle with as a guy, having grown up in Montana, is I should know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I should know. to really ride. I should know how to really ride a horse. I can ride a horse.
Yeah.
But I should know how to really ride a horse.
Yeah.
I should know how to really hunt. You know, like admitting this to you, who really knows how to hunt.
Yeah.
And Nick, you know, my brother-in-law and stuff. Like, I should know how to tie 30 knots. You know, like, and I should know how to. So all these I should become bigger than the I just need to start.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know if you know, I think a part of the process of being like a guy is the lie that you should know all that stuff already, no matter what age you are. I'm 44 years old, and I just started really hunting the last couple of years and getting my butt kicked, but really enjoying it and really learning. And it's just getting over that threshold of you should, you know, the core lie of like, no, you should know how to do this. So don't ever start, because if you start, you'll be showing people how badly you don't know it.
Mm.
And so certainly there's like a factor of that here in Montana of like, hey, just like be honest with yourself and be honest with your bros and be honest with your, you know, and just get out there and learn. Right. And just, I think reminding guys that you're not born knowing how to do anything.
Nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you didn't learn it from your pop, or you didn't learn it from your brother or your sister or your family, and like, who's going to teach you? Like, it's okay to learn at 44 how to do things that you think you should have learned in Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
You know, and not being afraid to start. Right. I think that's something I've had to work through since coming back to Montana. Because then you'll go to places like, you'll go to New York and you'll live and work in a place like New York, and they're like, you you live in a cabin in the woods and you have a horse? You know, and I'm like, no, man, not at all. But you have to be courageous enough to be like, I don't know how to do that yet.
It's a big topic. I mean,
Yeah.
We have seen it so many times just in the mountain tough world where people want to get into backcountry hunting and they don't, and they get into a little bit of analysis paralysis. You see it the same thing.
Sure.
Same thing with fitness too.
Sure.
Where you don't know what to do. You don't know how to start.
Yep.
So you're intimidated.
Yeah.
And then also you can just research something to death without ever even starting.
Sure.
So you see, you know, that being a pitfall as well, where I'm going to watch every video, read every article.
Yeah, right.
But I'm just not getting out there. And I think what you said is spot on, because if we asked most people, could they play us a beautiful song right now on a guitar?
Yeah, right.
They couldn't, because they would have to learn as a beginner.
Yeah.
And as a beginner, you're going to be terrible.
Yeah.
But being terrible and then getting better and better and better is the greatest part of life.
That's right. Yeah,
And
that's right.
It's the same thing with fitness and hunting, jujitsu.
Oh, dude.
It's like the journey of being terrible is what makes it so great.
It makes it sweeter when you do get to those moments where you're like, oh, I am succeeding in my own, whatever I'm understanding is succeeding.
Yeah.
It tastes better. It feels better because you've been through the crap.
So you got to just start.
You got to start.
Yeah.
You just got to start. Yeah, that's right. I think I have the opposite. It's not the opposite, but there's, my wife and I joke about the mountain tough mentality of working out. And it's like, if I don't get an absolutely brutal ass kicking workout, it's like, I don't know if I should even try. Like, I don't know. It's like, if it's not a mountain tough workout, is it actually a workout?
Oh, I know.
And just being like, no, dude, you're moving. Like, it's okay. You moved your body, you got your sweat on a little bit, you did something good for you, you know, and not being so compelled to hold on to the best. Sometimes you just need to do something.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a challenge too.
It is a challenge because you get addicted to pushing that hard.
Yeah. Right.
It
feels good. It looks good. You're like, okay, I'm that guy who can do those things, but it wears off fast. I mean, the workout today, I haven't worked out with you guys for quite a while. We've been training a little bit in the morning, but not like those afternoon classes. And, dude, it just kicked my ass. Like, it just smoked me. Oh. There'll be lots of asides to the camera just going, whew, yeah, this is, I remember what that's like. You can lose it fast too.
You can lose it fast.
Yeah.
And part of that's that tribe. I mean, I think like we were talking earlier where that ranger psychologist had told me that men need to be autonomous.
Yeah.
Not micromanaged. They need to be able to master something.
Right.
To be working towards mastery in something in their life.
Right.
And then also connected to a tribe of like-minded people.
I mean, that's it, right?
If you have those three things going on, which is hard to do, I would say, like, if you think about being a 40-year-old man in America,
Dude,
that's a difficult thing to do if you're not in the military, if you're not an LEO. It's you can obviously be autonomous, and we all can be working at mastery in something in our lives.
Sure.
And then the tribe culture is different than it ever has been before, where we're not playing softball together, we're not bowling together,
Right.
like men were 20, 30 years ago.
Right.
And so it's something that has to be created much more intentional.
Yeah.
But it can be done.
Yeah. It's almost fake it till you make it, right? You have to create something artificial and let it become real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's easier said than done. I mean, you've got this. I'm lucky enough I've got a group of guys that I meet up with on Friday mornings, and we check in with each other. We see what's going on in each other's lives. We talk about work. We talk about our marriages and our kids and how we can help out. And so we're there for each other. We have each other's backs. But that's been going on since, kind of the middle of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And it has its own life, like summer will come around and it sort of ebbs and flows a little bit. It's really popular in the winter because that's kind of all there is to do.
Mm-hmm.
But you gotta keep it alive, because it naturally wants to just kind of fall apart. Oh, it's Friday morning, it's early. I'd rather just do this or that. And it's like, no, you gotta really be intentional about this and reaching out to these guys and being like, hey, we're doing this. Who wants to show up? And some morning it's 2 of you sitting by the river or something like that.
Yeah.
And some mornings it's 9 or 10 of you, and it's pretty. Our one is by design like that. It's pretty loose. You can come, you can go, come as you are. Sometimes we do a Bible study, sometimes we do a book study, but it's pretty loose. But it just, to have those guys in my life, it's huge, man. Have guys like you in my life, Mountain Tough, Nate and stuff. It's just, that's, we roll over at SBG now.
Yeah.
There's these worlds are crossing over, and it's like, oh yeah, that community is also that community, is also that community.
Yeah.
But boy, the isolation thing is real, and it's really easy as a guy in the modern world to just kind of pull back and just disappear into the shadows.
Very easy.
Oh man.
And I think it's a lot of our nature as men, when we're feeling anything negative, to want to isolate.
Yeah, totally.
And then when we isolate, it just accelerates the problem.
Right. It's that fearful thing, right? I don't want to show people that I'm broken. I don't want to show people that I'm not, quote unquote, strong enough to deal with this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, that's a big thing. That's a thing we talk about in the group all the time. It's like, hey, is everyone all right? Like, how are we doing?
Yeah.
Really? Like, how's everybody doing? Check in with each other. And just say, look, this is what it's for. Reach out in the middle of the week. It's not just Friday mornings. Reach out in the week when you're tempted by whatever, or you're just going down this rabbit hole of anxiety and doubt about yourself and about what you're capable of and your family and your marriage. It's like, for some reason, those thoughts are so easily accessible, right? And the positive ones are just kind of out there on the periphery. But it's just, and then it just takes a conversation, pick up the phone, go for a walk, talking to another buddy on the phone. I did this a couple of weeks ago about work, because work's kind of crazy and all over the place right now. And I was like, dude, I'm going to Papua New Guinea, man. If God tells me to go to Papua New Guinea, I'm going to Papua New Guinea. Here we go. Like, I was just praying on this walk, and this guy's like, you're going to be all right, dude. You're going to be all right. But it just, like, those little encouraging nods from a friend, just like, you're going to be all right.
Yeah. And you mentioned it earlier. Once we know that we're not alone in our problem, man, that's like, that moves the needle so far in the positive direction.
It's amazing, right?
If we think that we're the only one with this struggle, or we're the only one that could have this type of thing going on with our kids, we're the only one who could have this type of thing going on with our wife.
Right.
We're the only one that could have this crazy financial thing going on.
Yep.
Once you think that, you're gonna isolate, and then the devil's just going to pour fire on that.
It's so of the enemy to be like, I'm going to isolate and destroy.
Yeah.
Right? You're the only one who's going through. You're the only one who's ever gone through this.
Mm-hmm.
You're an idiot.
Yeah.
I can't believe you got here.
Don't tell anyone.
Don't tell anybody. Don't bring it into the light. Right? As soon as you bring it into the light, it's like fungi. It just dies.
Oh.
And it's brotherhood, and it's honesty. And there was there's a book called, what was that book we talked about earlier? I think it's called In a Pit with a Lion on a Snowy Day.
Such a good title.
It's Mark Batterson. It's a great book, man. And it's about seeing our challenges differently, right? Not seeing them as necessarily attacks or things that are coming at us to break us down, but they're opportunities to grow. And obviously, it's kind of an obvious statement, but he had this great line in the book that said, God wants you to do what God wants you to do more than you want to do what God wants you to do. So as a father, you're like, wait a second, okay, I'll let that percolate for a second. God wants you to do what God wants you to do more than you want to do what God wants you to do. That's pretty encouraging.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're like, okay, I'm broken. I'm a mess. I've got my doubts about everything, including, whatever's going on in my life that's going absolutely fine. I still have doubts about it. And he's like, hey, son, I got you. It's going to be okay. And just thinking about a father's love, there's nothing I wouldn't do for my kiddos. Mm-hmm. And that is that's a shadow of the way that we are cared for and loved by our Father. That's just the truth.
I know. Yeah, if you could just settle in that.
But that's, like we talked earlier at breakfast, it's like, that's really tough. Mm-hmm. Why is it so hard to just lean into that? That concept of like, the Mountain Tough ethos, there's a lot of military guys in here. There's a lot of like, do it for yourself and be brilliant at something. And there's nothing wrong with that. You have to be capable and you have to be ready, but you also have to be completely and utterly dependent on God. Mm-hmm. And that balance as a Christian man, that paradox is just, everything is in that paradox, right? How do I keep myself physically ready for whatever, God willing, doesn't come at us, or just ready, just healthy, like keep my body healthy. How can I protect my girls? How can I protect my wife? But also in the evening or in the morning, say to God, hey, if you don't show up in this area, our runway is going to run out and we're screwed without you. He wants us there, and he wants us there too. That's the crazy thing, right? He wants us to want him like that. Like when my daughters say to me, hey, Dad, can you help me with this? I'm like, yo, I'm all in. Yeah. That's when I'm like, I'm all in, other like kicking soccer balls around and things like that too. But when they're like, hey, Dad, hey, Papa, and you're like, yo, here I am. Yeah. And our Heavenly Father's like, yeah, let's go. Right. And like that, we got to remind ourselves of that.
That's a big one, man. We have to rest in the fact that we're a beloved son. And we're a beloved son from the Almighty. And we can rest in that. And resting in that, we can pray each day that God father us.
Yeah, yeah.
And fathering us means that we are putting our faith in him as the father, but fathering also means, like we would do with our own kids,
right? That
we're going to have to move them left or right.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Or discipline them left or right, depending on
that's right. Yeah.
So if we surrender to the idea of fathering, we know that there's going to be nudges to get us on the right path, just like we would nudge our kids to get them on the right path. Sometimes it might be discipline, sometimes it might be encouragement.
Yep.
And fathering from him is going to lead to the same thing to us, but it keeps us in that idea of sonship.
Yep, yep.
But then we can rest in that idea of sonship, especially knowing that we've already won, and
right.
especially knowing that the home we're going to after this is greater than the home we're on now.
Right.
And then, like we talked about at breakfast, how do you balance that, which I'm in full agreement in that component, and that makes perfect sense to me. But then how do you balance that with still wanting to achieve, still wanting to get certain things done, still wanting to perform, but then not taking it so far that you're living a performance-based identity?
Oh, bro. Yeah. The gumball machine, right? If I do ABC, I'm going to get XYZ. That's the way it's worked. That's the way it's worked for years. So I'm going to keep doing that. And then one day it breaks and you blame God. Oh, God's mad at me. Or I've done something. Or what's up, God? What are you doing? And it's like, no, it was not God. It's you. It's your performance-based life, right? It's like sometimes we live in a broken world, man. Sometimes it doesn't work. And so you got to dust yourself off and you got to turn to your Father again, right? And say, hey, I've been missing something, haven't I? And you'll get a response with that, right? You usually get that response where you're like, hey, God, did I? Yeah. I hear that still quiet voice. I've definitely been messing up. Okay, let's evaluate where you want me to be, right? And I think especially, I'm in my mid 40s now. I think especially for men at this stage of life, I never really believed in, as a young man, you're like a midlife crisis. What do you mean midlife crisis? And I don't think it's a midlife crisis, but there's definitely a reevaluation of your where are you putting your energy and your time? Because you start to see like, this is finite.
Yep.
Right? There is going to be a big curtain at the end of this, and we don't get to choose it.
Hey guys, I did want to interrupt for a quick minute right here and let you know about some supplements I've been taking. I did shy away from supplements for a long time. I was always cautious about what they were made out of, where they were from, and who the team was behind the brands. But over the last couple of years, I've got to meet the team at Mountain Ops from top to bottom, and they are an amazing group of humans. I've got to know the CEO, Trevor Farnes, really well, and he is a mission-focused individual that cares about humans living a better quality of life so that they can have that abundant life. So over the last couple of years, he has helped me add some things that have changed the game for me. One of those things that I've added is creatine from Mountain Ops. It helps me maintain some muscle mass, but also it's a big player in cognitive function, one of the most researched supplements out there. Also, I've added reds, greens, and protein, all from Mountain Ops. What I found as a busy professional, always on the run, I do eat a whole foods diet for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but on the go, it's hard to get enough vegetables, fruits, and protein. So I've added that from Mountain Ops, and it has significantly changed the game. I can feel it in my performance. I haven't got sick for a long time, and I can certainly feel it in my mental clarity as well. The last thing I've added is the Mountain Tough Hydrate product for the backcountry, for hunting season. When I'm in the hills, I do run short on those electrolytes. We even have a Mountain Tough flavor, the Mountain Tough Lemon Lime Hydrate, and that is a game changer for hydration in the backcountry. So I keep it really simple. That is all I've added to my protocol, and it has certainly helped me, and I certainly believe in the team and the culture behind Mountain Ops. They have started an initiative that's been around for a while called Conquer Hunger. Conquer Hunger is giving meals to hungry kids that aren't getting enough food, and they've given out over 6 million meals plus to kids through their Conquer Hunger initiative. So every order that happens at Mountain Ops, a percentage of that order goes to Conquer Hunger. So certainly an incredible company, an incredible culture. As a listener to the show, you do get an exclusive offer to Mountain Ops, so make sure you check that out. The offer is incredible as a first-time purchase at mountainops.com. So build your order if it's your first time. They are offering you a 20% exclusive discount. All you need to do is enter the promo code Mountain Tough, all one word, all caps, for 20% off your first order at mountainops.com.
So, hey King, can you, if I've got myself somewhere on my own merit, just by like hard work and, plugging and playing, and you don't want me here, would you do me a favor? Yeah. Would you take me away from that? Would you do me a favor? And would you put me on the path you want me on? Because I don't want to waste any more time. Mm-hmm. I think that's what if we really boil down a midlife crisis, it's like, wait a second, you can all kind of bust your ass and get somewhere. Mm-hmm. But is it your calling? Is it what your Father wants you to do? And that question haunts me sometimes, because you're like, am I doing the right? Have I put my energy in the wrong place, man?
I know. They talk about it as, you're climbing that ladder, and you get to the top.
Yeah.
And then you realize the ladder was on the wrong building.
That's right. And you're looking at it across the way.
Which is,
yeah. It's horrible, right?
Horrible.
No thanks.
Yeah.
No thanks. But you did learn stuff along the way, right? I mean, you learn about who you are, and hopefully you learn some mastery in that, right? You put your 10,000 hours in, you learn about that thing that you're doing, and then you can share it, you can teach it, you can mentor in it. But yeah, that's definitely a prayer right now. It's like, hey, King, if I messed up, would you just grab me by the scruff of my neck like a mama lion and just drag me where you want me to go?
I know. I think Matt McPherson, he's the founder of Matthews Bows, and he talked about it.
Yeah.
You and I talked about this quickly one morning while we were lifting, but I was like, what do you think happens if you miss your calling?
Oh.
And he's a really strong Christian, and he said that from his opinion, God is looking for people to accomplish his mission. So God is looking for people so that his kingdom mission can continue to move forward in the design that he's kind of wanting to happen. And
right.
So if God were to bring a part of his mission that he needs you to do, and you aren't paying attention, or you're not obedient, or you're not ready, or you're lost and fallen and can't really accept that mission,
right?
He's going to take it over to someone else, someone who is ready, someone who is paying attention, and someone who is obedient.
Always ready.
Oh.
Yeah, always ready. Was that the versions of life, like we're all on like version, F of our life, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. I just don't want to go through like second Z again. I want to be ready for the next one, Lord, like whatever you're doing.
So powerful.
Yeah, it's really powerful.
Because he's like, none of us are on A.
None of us, right? Yeah, that's right. You're not on A.
But we don't want to be on double Z.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Z.
Yeah, that's right.
It's so powerful.
That's a great way. That's a great sort of like swing thought in your prayer life and in your just meditation, to be like, Lord, I remember people saying, you want to do the will of God. You want to wrestle with that. You just want to do the will of God in your life. And as a young believer or just coming to the church, I remember sitting in this church in the UK and hearing this story of a banker who had made it. Like he'd killed it. He'd made millions of pounds. And it was sex, drugs, rock and roll, and it was completely empty. And when he got to the top of his ladder, there was nothing. Mm-hmm. There wasn't even a building. It was just empty. Yeah. And he realized this is all nonsense, right? And thank goodness the Lord found him, and he found a real home there. But that thing, we have this. I had this saying. I was like, I know money doesn't make me happy, but I want to find out for myself. Like, sure.
I want to test.
Let me test that theory because I think that's bullshit. and just testing, like testing the water, but just being honest with God and being like, hey, like to go back to what you said, like they're agreeing with the first part of that conversation, but being like, but also He has put things in us that are His gifts to us. We have these talents and we have skill sets that He knows that we will thrive in and live through. Mm. And they're pleasant. My wife, we talked about this a little bit. My wife recently said to me, Philip, she said, Psalm 16, let me get this right. I think it's Psalm 16:6, or it's either 6. No, it's 6. It's Psalm 6, verse 16, and it is, you have placed me in pleasant boundaries. Mm. And that concept of like, freedom doesn't mean you can do anything you want. Like, come on, that's just nonsense, right? Like we talked the other day about, I saw this sermon of this guy and he had a guitar on backwards. Yeah. And he's like, freedom says I can play the guitar like this, but it's not what it's made for. Mm-hmm. And then he turned it over and he said, freedom says I could strum this any way I want, but it's not going to make music. Within the rules and the pleasant boundaries of music, I can make incredible things. And he played this really amazing chord, right? Around. And our lives are like that. Like the Lord has placed us in pleasant boundaries. And I think it's our job to explore all of that as freely as possible And when we run into a wall, to admit it and say, okay, Father, okay, where else do you want me now? And it's not necessarily a perfect circle. It could be, you know, I have this picture in my head of like a citadel, and being a small kid in a citadel and like running around inside of it and just exploring it up in the mountains and down through the middle of the city and then down to the waterfalls at the bottom and the, you know, and the where the river is, and just like we get to explore all this stuff, and it's pleasant because he knows us and he loves us. It's not jail.
Yeah.
These are the pleasant boundaries for which you thrive and flourish in.
It's not a jail. Yeah.
It's not a jail.
I think about it as like the gifts for sure are where we're supposed to reside in these boundaries. And I think one way that's helpful to think about it is like grace and colors. So like you might have purple grace and I have blue grace.
Right.
And then some people have blue, yellow, and green.
Yeah.
And then some people just have green. And those are gifts that God has graced us with.
Yeah, that's right.
And so I might have the same one as you, but you might have two more that I don't have.
Sure.
And when you're living in those gifts or grace, then you start receiving this unexplainable favor on your life. So like if your gift is purple grace, but my gift is blue grace, and, you know, maybe, so just so people know, like that, you know, that could be encouragement.
Yeah, that's right. What are your,
But if yours is purple grace and you're living in that grace, then all of a sudden this unexplainable favor just starts happening in your life.
Right.
Like, how did this door open? How
What
did
is
this
that?
happen?
Why am
How
I'm sitting
here
with
right
kings?
now?
What am I doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
And then it's when you get out of that life might be okay, but all of that favor goes away.
Yeah, that's interesting, right?
The favor just vanishes.
Yep.
And it's because the world's going to reward you for living outside of your grace, but the favor of God is not going to be with you if you're not living in that grace.
Right.
And what we all want is the favor of God.
Right.
And that's the adventure he wants us on.
And it's perfectly designed for us, by the way.
Yeah.
It's the perfect adventure for us. You can't have a better one. That like giving over to that and accepting that of like, yes, having all these talents and having skills and working hard for things, but also trusting, okay, the journey that you want me on is going to be better than the one I can place myself in or force myself into. It just is.
And we got to lock ourselves into that every day.
Every day.
Because more than ever before, if you compare yourself to anyone, you'll want their grace.
Yeah.
And you're never going to get it because it's their gift. And if you try to run their race,
Yeah, that's
you're
right.
going to lose all that favor. And you're not going to have the gift to even succeed in that realm.
Let alone like the social media element of it all, right?
Yeah.
Of like, oh, so-and-so's on vacation again. And they're driving a new, they bought an old Land Cruiser. It's one of the 80s ones. It's the boxy ones, dude. Oh, and they dropped a diesel in it so it gets 22 miles a gallon. My life sucks.
Yeah.
You're like, that is a surefire way to just be so sad, man.
Yeah.
I got off social media like a year ago now, and it made such a big difference. It was a game changer.
Yeah.
None of it didn't. I don't have any of it, and it was just like I had all that time. Right. I've definitely found ways to waste time, like people do, but it's just amazing. That sort of like I always had this little chip on my shoulder about like, well, we should be doing more. We should be vacationing, or we should be this, and it was like, you know, keeping up with the Joneses nonsense, and it just kind of was like that just fueled that, and man, it's so helpful to be out of that.
Yeah, it's a game changer to take a lot of that off your plate.
We turn our phones off on Saturday nights.
I love that.
And we leave them off all day Sunday, and then we turn them on Sunday night. And I'd like to start like on Friday night.
Yeah.
I'd like to be all weekend just off the grid, right? But we started it when we first got married. I think a buddy of mine was joking around, a buddy in LA. He's like, we do naked pancakes. I was like, oh, that's great, buddy. Good for you. He's like, but you got to pick something, like do something on your weekend. I was like, all right, well, naked pancakes sounds great. We chose to turn our phones off, which might sound a little boring, but the ramifications were great. Like we looked forward to it. Mm-hmm. We looked forward to not being accessible by the world, right? Or having that distraction.
Yeah.
And, to be fair, I've been married for a hot minute now, so we didn't have iPhones then. It was still like Blackberries and stuff like that, but it was still plenty of distraction.
Yeah.
And now it's just it's just everywhere.
Everywhere.
We had the discussion this morning of not having our iPhones as our alarms in our room because we have a phone drawer in our house, and the girls know that. Our daughters know that the phones go in the phone drawer when you get home, and that's where they are. And if you're looking at them, you're like doing something with music, Spotify. Or they go in the phone drawer, and we get called out all the time.
Yeah,
the girls
get in the phone drawer.
Put it in the phone drawer, Dad. Dad, what are you doing? Sorry. Yeah, you're right.
So good though.
But you got to be so disciplined to stay away from those things, or to And I don't think God's honest truth. I don't think I'm disciplined enough to have one. Like that's why I'm off social media. I just whatever part of my brain it is that loves that and goes for the little 3-hour rabbit hole journey, especially if I'm working. That's why I had to get off of it because I was traveling so much with this last job and ended up in hotel rooms in Albuquerque and just nothing to do, didn't know anybody. And, I'd learn my lines and do my homework. And then I had all this free time and I was like, I got to get off this phone, man.
Yeah.
So I just killed it and ended up in the gym more or sitting at a restaurant reading a book. And I was like, you're seeing the world.
That algorithm will just attack.
Oh man, it's brutal. It's smarter than me. I know that. I can't do it.
And just the presence of being in front of our kids, just scrolling all the time, even when you're trying not to, the amount of times that they're telling you something and you're just scrolling.
That's right.
And the message that has to send.
Have you seen that research? There was a guy who did some research on that with his 2-year-old, and she would talk to him and he would be on his phone, and her eye movement indicated just how like disappointed she was and how much you could just see it physically on her eye movement and her physicality was just like this. And then he would put his phone away, and I think the mom was doing something in the back room to keep the daughter there, and then saying, go ask your dad. And she'd run in the room and he goes, what is it? And he would be like, and he'd look at her and he'd get down on her level, and she just stood in her full height and she was like, Dad, do you want to do whatever it was? You want to go count stuffies with me? Yeah, let's go have a tea with all your stuffies. Oh. And she just filled to her full height. And it's like, that's real. That's real life things that we can do to change how our kids feel about themselves, right?
Which is huge.
And how we interact with our kids. Like, I want to know my kids. I don't want to know them through my side eye as I'm, I don't know, whatever, looking at FJ Cruisers, looking for deals. Oh, that one's rusted out. What do you want? Is it dinner? Sorry, I was looking at FJ Cruisers.
It's wild.
It's a discipline, right? It's huge discipline.
You said this morning that you feel like one of the greatest things we can do is just realize that God has designed this beautiful adventure for us. And it is an adventure. And an adventure is covered with adversity, but there's nothing wrong with that adversity, because adversity is what makes us all grow.
It makes us better. Yeah.
How would you expand upon that you shared this morning?
I think that, going back to what we were talking about a little bit ago about becoming comfortable and trusting our own way. There's one of the quotes I wanted to bring up. It is C.K. Chesterton, right? He has this amazing quote, and he says, how much happier you would be, how much more of you there would be if the hammer of a higher God could smash your small cosmos. And you just let the dust settle on that, right? And you go, so that adversity, those things that we're doing, allowing God to break through and sometimes drag us through stuff, but just to follow his light and to follow his lead, that stuff is so key in a man's life, right? And I know I look in a woman's life too, but I know for me, the things that I remember are through the adversity that I got through. A lot of the jobs that I did, I was fortunate enough to get pretty high up in the television world. I was leading network television series for a few years. I had the lead on a Cinemax show for 4 years, and it was rinsing me out and like throwing me down, just smoked at the end of the day.
Grind.
And I remember being like, wow, Lord, I thought I was supposed to be an actor. Like, I thought this is what you wanted me to do, and I'm doing it, but I don't know if I'm capable of this. I don't know if I'm capable of this type of performance, 90 hours a week when you're shooting a first season of a show and you're number one on a 1 hour drama. You're just working your ass off. And this isn't a bitch session. This is just like, I came to the point, I was like, wow, this is hats off to the people who do this, and wondering if I could get through it.
Yeah.
And it was that adversity, and it was that like learning by being put up against the ropes time and time again that I now look back on, and that helps me through, seasons of dry spells when we're not working, or when there's challenging people or challenging times on set. I'm just like, look, this is okay.
Yeah.
Because I've been through this.
Yeah.
And so we talked about this in the truck out to the rattlesnake hunt. It was experience gives you authority. Right. And so if you don't have authority in something and you don't understand it, you tend to become fearful. And so like I was, talking about not doing things because you're fearful, you have to dive in, you have to put both feet in and learn, because as soon as you understand something, it's no longer fearful. And then as soon as you get, kind of rolled around in the drum of that for a while, and you get some bruises and you get some cuts, you realize it's not going to kill you. Mm-hmm. And you toughen up a bit, and you're like, okay, not only do I understand it and I'm not scared of it, I can excel at it. But it's through getting your butt kicked, right? It's through becoming like, I became doubtful in some of those jobs. I was like, I don't know if I'm capable of maintaining this, right? I would like, I think I did a show called The Player, which was Charity Wakefield, Wesley Snipes, and it was a short-lived show on NBC, but it was wildly fun. And we shot in LA, and it took place in Vegas, and these people took bets on whether or not this guy could stop crimes from happening. And I played that guy. His name was Alex Kane. It was so much fun, right? It was just silly, fun action, right?
Yeah.
And like 6 weeks into this show, I was down like 15 pounds, and I couldn't keep it on. My body was just... We were doing all our own stunts. We were running all over the place. We were just burning it.
Yeah.
And then you get home and you're learning 8 pages of dialogue, right? And I was like, man, okay, careful what you wish for, right? Like careful. But I can look back on that time now and I can go, all right, I'm really, not only am I capable of what comes my way, I'm not fearful of it, right? But it's that adversity. It's 100% the adversity. The same reason we lift weights, right? We tear our muscles.
It's the perfect example.
They grow back stronger. You break a bone, it sucks, it heals. That break is so much stronger than the rest of the bones.
It's the perfect example. I mean, if we could remember that as what's happening in the rest of our lives, is the same thing that's happening in the gym.
Yeah.
Even the feeling of I've been here before. Like if you
That's right.
If you spike your heart rate in a high intensity workout in the gym, the first time where you hit that red line, you're kind of freaked out. Yeah. But when you've done it like the 20th time, you're like, this is red line. If I rest for 2 minutes, it's going to be gone.
I'll be back down. Yeah. I'll be in orange.
I'll be at 100% in 5 minutes.
That's right.
But the first time it's really freaky.
Yeah.
And that's happening all over our life, all over the place.
All the time.
But we would never increase our capacity as humans, as fathers, as men, if we didn't run into these major points of adversity.
Right.
And if we ran backwards at the major pinch point of adversity, we would never build any capacity at all.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And that as a father, like we said earlier as well, I know now, it's taken me all these years, 44 years old, I'm like, when adversity's in my life, I don't get down on my knees right away and say, God, take it away. I'm learning really slowly, because I'm a slow learner, to say, hey, God, maybe thank you, but can you walk me through what this really is? So if it's, work is dry or financial hardship or whatever it is, you're like, okay, I don't just pray for the easy road out. Because I know that if it is from God, that's not the way he's going to take me, right? He wants me to learn. He wants me to tear some muscle a little bit or even break a bone. And then he's going to heal me, but I'm going to learn. And it's through that adversity.
Yeah. It's the only way out is
only
through.
way.
Yeah.
Right through the middle of it, right?
It's pretty wild. It's wild because that's going to happen in our marriages. That's going to happen in our finances. That's going to happen with our kids. That's going to happen in the mountains. And we see in black and white how it happens in the gym or with training. Because the other example that Mountain Tough has used for years is turning ceilings into floors.
That's great.
And so if you hate running and
check,
and I convince you that we're going to do some training and we're going to get you ready and we're going to run a half marathon.
Yeah, right on.
We're going to do some training. It's going to hurt. We're going to do some more training. It's going to hurt. You're going to do a half marathon and you're going to be like, holy smokes, I did not know I had this capacity.
Yeah, that's right.
As soon as you cross that half marathon finish line, that is your new floor.
It's your new baseline.
It used to be your ceiling.
That's right.
It used to be impossible. I'd never do that.
Yeah.
How do people do that? All of a sudden, it's your new floor. And then your next ceiling is that full marathon, that 50K. Yeah. That exact same thing is happening in our work life.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
It's just easy to see it on like the fitness side.
And I think, and our spiritual life, right? Like it's those, the young prayers, we talked a little bit about, I was referencing, I listened to a Jordan Peterson talk recently about energy. He had this energy expert on and he was talking about energy density and it was way over my head, right? But the thing that I did pick up on was like, oh, of course, like a pellet of uranium has the same output as like 1,000 gallons of gasoline. So with like one pellet of uranium, you could drive from New York to LA and back to New York again and probably still have some power.
Crazy.
Our prayers are like that too, right? There are some prayers that for whatever reason, they are just on point and they come out of a place of us that is just like, and God knows it, right? And they have a prayer density.
Yeah.
And there are some that you're just like, look, I pray about this every day. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. Yeah, okay. And there's something about that. It's like there's something, he knows when we need it. He knows when it's going to work and when it's not going to work. And like, thank goodness for the unanswered prayers, right? To quote a song, but really thank goodness for those prayers. Like, man, I would have ended up in so many bad places if he would have answered all those silly prayers I was as a young Christian.
For sure.
I was like, but that, I don't know. There's something that I'm working through in life with the Lord about that. It's like, wow, are there some ones you just want to hear every day, King? Or that cry of my heart of just, where the heck do you want me? And just that vulnerability of like, if you don't show up, like we said, if you don't show up, I'm screwed. Mm-hmm. Show up, King. Show up, Father.
Just living on faith.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is right where he wants us to be.
And that's exactly where we don't want to be because we want to be comfortable. I was walking the dogs the other day and I had God talks to me through sort of real clarity. So I'll have moments of, I have that, you have your inner dialogue and you have your inner voice. And I'll have moments of real clarity where it's like, oh, that's a word from the Lord. And he just said to me, he's like, you are idolizing certainty in your life. I wanted to know whether these auditions were getting to the casting directors. I wanted to know when the next season of this show is going to come out. I wanted to know and he was like, nobody gets that. Why would I give that to you? Nobody gets that. You don't get certainty. You know what you get? He said, you get me. And I was like, oh, you know what? And that's a better trade. You get me because I'm going to take you into all these places that certainty would keep you out of. Because if you were certain, you wouldn't go to Uganda on a missions trip to a dangerous country and do that. If you were certain, you wouldn't pack your family up and move them halfway across the world for a silly little job. If you were certain, but like God goes, no, it's okay.
I know.
I'm going to take you to these places that certainty isn't allowed. And then you're going to grow and you're going to change and you're going to become the person I want you to be, not the person you want you to be. And trust me, that's better. But giving over to that is a daily walk. It's a minute-to-minute walk with me sometimes. I gotta be honest with you. It's like or hour to hour. It's like, okay, Lord, well, I feel like I'm going back over here. Remind me. And he does.
Man, it just made me think of like my daughters where like they don't, at 12 and 10, especially if I think about the last couple of years, especially as we tie this back into just resting and being a beloved son.
Yeah.
Like my daughters have no certainty of like what the next week is going to look like, what tomorrow is going to look like.
Right.
Especially like if you think about them like at 6 and 7, like they don't know what we're doing Thursday.
Yeah.
Or they don't know
right.
like what we're doing next Monday. And they're just so happy.
That's beautiful, man.
They're just so happy, just resting in the fact that they're fathered, they're mothered, they know
they got us.
Yeah. They know the basic needs are going to be adequate.
Yeah.
And so they can just rest in that peace that they're not looking for certainty all the time.
So good, man.
And it's like the Bible telling us to come with that childlike faith. They're a good example of how
it's
they
right in
do
front
that.
of you.
It's just like happy, like just, living 15 minutes at a time.
Yeah,
and
right.
It's not till we get older that we start looking for all of this certainty.
Right.
And if we can just remain more childlike, and it does create this grand adventure. And the adventure is, if we had the certainty that we prayed for, life would be really, really boring.
Right, man. Exactly.
Like if you knew exactly your next job, exactly what that was going to lead to, it would be really boring.
Yeah, acting would be boring because the worst part is the waiting. It's the worst part. It's like when you're acting, it's great, man. There's a joke like the acting's free, you get paid to wait. Man, that's so true. That's so true.
I think about you a lot from that angle because like your spiritual strength since we've known each other has been incredibly strong from that exact point because your career is unlike most any other guys I know when it comes to the waiting you guys go through in between jobs.
Right.
And that's a really hard thing for all of us, and the way that you're able to navigate that is really, really fascinating and interesting and inspiring.
Well, I appreciate that, man.
because it ties right back to that purple grace thing. Because if you, let's say you have this amazing acting gig, it goes phenomenal, which you do and have done. Then let's say you go into a 3-month waiting period for the next gig. Maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's 9 months.
Maybe it's a year, yeah.
But you're living in the purple grace. If you said, I'm sick of waiting, I can't wait here for 2 more weeks, I'm going to go be an accountant.
Yeah, I'm going to go be a cop. I'm going to try and be a firefighter. Yeah.
Then you're going blue grace, and that's not going to work, even though it looks like it's going to work.
Right. And it feels good because you're doing something. And, we are actionable men. It's like if I'm doing something, I'm happy. Mm-hmm. Right? It's that purpose.
The performance.
It's the performance. It's like, hey, if I go over here and do this, I can get someone clapping a little bit. And that's probably, whether that was a default of growing up and like just wanting to be seen so desperately. Mm-hmm. But yeah, to bring it back to this, it's like, that I really appreciate that because it doesn't feel like that. It really feels like by the skin of our teeth sometimes. And I'll come in here, you guys have been so gracious. I can come in and work out with you in the 12 o'clock class and get my butt kicked and stay in pretty good shape. And that's something I can hold on to so that when the job does come around, I'm ready. Mm-hmm. As a joke, like you got the shirts, it's like always ready. But it's like there's really some truth to that. It's like I'm ready in that capacity, which is the capacity that I can be. I'm trying not to, really cut back on drinking and just trying to remove it from my life completely because it just really holds for me at this point in my life, there's really no benefits to it.
Yeah.
Like it used to be a social lubricant and it used to be something that I could sort of act out through probably, if I'm honest. And it holds nothing good in it anymore.
Positives.
There's no positives in drinking. I feel like crap the next day. it doesn't help. You know, maybe like a glass of wine with my wife over a nice meal. I love that because we have a good conversation. But those are the only times, you know. And so trying to get rid of that and trying to stay ready for when the phone rings. And it's this constant thing of like, you never know. Mm-hmm. They might call and say, hey, that audition you did 2 months ago, it's back on the table. You got the part. They need you in 2 weeks, or they need you in a week. Or the show you did that we've been waiting on, it's greenlit. It's in a month, and you're ready to go. You don't have to panic, right?
Yeah.
The opposite side of that is, we talked a little bit this morning about the currency, what currencies we have in our life. And I know for a fact that one of the major currencies that I have that I've been blessed with is time. I have the currency of time to be a father and be really, really present. I have the currency of time. If a buddy picks up the phone and says they need something, or just they want to hang out, I can say, yeah, let's go, right? Let's go.
Yeah.
I have the currency of time to know my wife. You know, we've been married 17 years, and we've known each other our whole lives, basically. Dated on and off for like 27 years. And we know each other really well. Right. I trust her. I love her. I know her. I know who she is. I'm watching her grow and change in her relationship with the Lord, and the Lord's, you know, dragging her into places that she never thought she wanted to go. And now she's leading women in these prayer groups, and she's doing stuff that we joked about 2 years ago, that she was like, you know, she joined a prayer group, and I was like, I think maybe in a year or two you'll be leading one of these. She's like, oh, don't you be silly. I was like, you just watch, right?
Yeah.
So that currency of time is such a gift. But you have to zoom out 100 feet to see it, because it would be very easy to be in the pit with a lion on a snowy day and be like, dude, I'm screwed. We're not working. The phone's not ringing. The auditions have dried up. What's going on? Oh, yeah, but wait, I've got all this time, right? And we still have a little runway, right? We've been fortunate enough to, you know, be able to squirrel away. When we earn enough to squirrel it away for X amount of time, and we just nibble at it. Yeah. And so we've been really fortunate with that. And we nibble. And then sometimes you nibble your nibble. You just go like, okay, tonight it's, all right, we're not doing that anymore. We're cutting down.
Mountain Tough is the fitness app trusted by the dedicated. Mountain Tough ethos is backed by, we've always wanted to be the best in the world at helping our customers become more mentally tough. So inside the Mountain Tough app, you're not only going to find all of our physical training programs, but you're going to find additional training as well, so that you can stay sharp physically, mentally, spiritually, and nutritionally. The Mountain Tough app also allows you to train no matter where you are, anytime, anywhere. Additionally, the Mountain Tough app is going to have programs from beginners all the way up to elite athletes. And all of our programming is structured in a way that you can start with no gear at body weight, and you can go all the way up to programming that is full gear. So you can do that in a robust home gym or your local gym. There's no excuse for you not to start today. With Mountain Tough, you can conquer your goals with the ideal program for your lifestyle and schedule. Train with equipment or just your body weight on your phone, tablet, TV, or web browser. Most importantly, Mountain Tough will help you train your mindset so you are always ready for anything life throws your way. Mountain Tough is offering the Mountain Tough Podcast listeners an incredible offer. 6 weeks free on the Mountain Tough app. All you need to do is use the code MTNPOD to redeem your 6 weeks of training. That'll be a 14-day free trial plus a whole additional 4 weeks of training. Just go to mountaintough.com and enter code MTNPOD for your 6 weeks free on the best-in-class physical and mental training app.
But it's good, man. And then time, time is the currency, and you can revel in it. You can be really thankful for it too. And like you said, like you can see it for what it is. I think I shared this with you maybe one morning. I shared it with a couple other friends. I was sitting, it's one of my favorite God experiences. I get kind of choked up talking about it because it was just like, it was wild. I was sitting at our kitchen counter, and I was really wrestling with God. I was wrestling about work. I was wrestling about life. And I get choked up because it's so on point. Like, our God is a God of such redemption. And I was wrestling. I was like, Lord, I'm going crazy. I want to work. Like, you made me, you put these desires in my heart. I want to do them. I want to work. I have all this time, right? And I didn't know. So I didn't know my father. I didn't know my biological father. He's not my. I didn't know this guy, right?
Yeah.
And so he left. Never met him. And I'm sitting at the counter, and the Lord just says really clearly to me. He goes, Philip, I'm not only giving you the time that you need with your daughters, I'm giving you the time that you didn't have with your father.
That's insane.
And I was like, man.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
Redemption,
man. God of redemption, right? Like
Which
that's so personal. It's so laser specific.
Yeah.
It's just great, man. And it just bowled me over, and it just obviously had a big impact. And I hold on to that because that came from my father. And so I'm not going to mess around with this time, and I'm not going to throw it back in his face. I don't want it. It was a free gift from my father.
Yeah.
So I want to use it well. So I try and use it to stay ready. And then when the phone rings and he goes, okay, for the time being, the time's up.
Man, that's big. That's his sweet spot, his redeeming.
Oh, so good, man.
And it's like when he redeems, it's kind of like he punches the devil right back in his face.
That's right.
Like he does it over and over again.
What you wanted to use to destroy this family and this person, I'm going to just use for good.
But
every time.
You still have the responsibility to pay attention to it.
Yeah.
Not screw it up.
Yeah, right.
Not blow it.
Like all things, you can learn through it and you can grow through it. Yeah. That's great.
You seem to have a pretty dialed in perspective on gratitude as well. Is that something you pay attention to?
That's a great question, buddy. Yes, I think that so when this guy left, when my dad left when I was really little, my mom, who was she's a British national, right? And she moved here, kind of fell in love with a cowboy and never left, sort of a story, right? And then he left us in this unfinished house. And some of my first memories are of this empty house with my mom figuring it out. And I remember the joy that would come over my mother at little things. Like we would be blessed with a car. We'd be blessed with groceries. We'd be blessed with a place to stay. We'd be blessed by people taking care of us. And so gratitude was really necessary. It was real.
Yeah.
And my mom's gratitude was kind of life and death, but it really made a difference, right? When people reached out. And so I think possibly, I don't think anyone's ever asked me that. Going back that far, I think that those seeds were planted, and then combined with the fact that I was kind of a dink in high school. I was kind of just a dork and it was like, oh, just get through it, I'll coast, and I even took that a little bit into drama school. When I moved over to London, I lucked out and got into this amazing drama school, and I just kind of coasted a little bit. And I thought, I don't need to do this. I don't need to really apply myself. And then it was totally, looking back, it was totally the Lord, but I was, confronted with that through some friends who were like, hey, you have an amazing life. What are you doing? My dad actually, so my for the audience, my stepdad, but he's my dad. He taught me to, Jay, he taught me to ride a bike and shoot a gun and play golf. And he's amazing. This amazing man who took in this woman that he fell in love with, right? This gal and her kid, right? That's a big thing, right? To adopt this boy. But he came out while I was over at drama school, and he was like, look, you can come back to Montana and you can bag groceries at IGA again, and you can work on the ranch for a little bit, and you'd probably have a perfectly fine life. Or you could take the shot at the opportunity that you've been given and just see what happens, right?
Man.
I'll never forget that.
Flew over there for that.
He flew over to walk me down to the pub.
For that conversation.
We were probably 6 pints deep though. So it's like, you know, we were both needed the courage to talk to each other, you know, 6 pints of Guinness. But he said, he said, listen, man, it was one of those Kairos moments where you make a decision right now and it's going to impact the rest of your life. I'm so grateful for that conversation. Mm-hmm. I'm so grateful for the courage to do that.
That's huge.
So I guess gratitude is, I owe so many people so much. I owe my family so much. I owe my grandma, who I stayed at her bed and breakfast for like 6 years in London, just grafting and grinding. And my aunts and uncles all chipped in to like give me jobs while I lived there. And, you know, we'd do haymaking in the summer on the farm. And then 2 of my uncles were builders. So we'd be putting up wallpaper in these little apartments around London or building houses outside of North London. They all helped me. Mm-hmm. And I'm forever grateful for their hearts of service, to just be like, here's this young kind of tearaway kid from Montana who, whatever their opinion of me was, but they loved me enough to give me a chance. And that gave me the chance to become an actor and to get involved in the business. So it's a great question, man. I hope that I'm gracious because I have been extended a immeasurable amount in my life.
Yeah.
And so I hope to give it back.
It's such a strong principle too. I mean, grateful for where we live, grateful for what we have, grateful for the mountains around us.
Yeah.
It does help you to live in the present and try to not live in the future when you're just,
that's right.
You're grateful for those things that are happening all around us all the time.
Yeah.
And we are standing on the shoulders of a lot of giants that made this possible.
Right.
And then there's a real big peace of mind shift that happens when we focus on gratitude. And I'm not great at it. I go through seasons of thinking about it more and being better at it. But man, that peace of mind you get when you're just grateful for everything that happens, it can shift your whole dynamic.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just, I have these moments in my life where I call them buoy moments, where I imagine I'm out at sea and I have these moments in my life where it's just something happens that's big enough and has enough magnitude in my life that I get a buoy. Mm-hmm. And then I can move out a little further into the adventure of my life. And so a lot of those are people. A lot of those buoys are people I'm grateful for, my parents, my grandmother, friendships, friends who are brave enough to be honest with me about things in my life. I could then hold on to that buoy and recover and then go, all right, there's a bunch of open water out there, and leg it and hope that I get another buoy out there somewhere, right? And just keep going.
Yeah.
And so gratitude's been really healing in my life. I mean, it's all, I mean, again, like the theme of this talk, right? It's all the Lord. And I don't want to be preachy about it, but it really is. I mean, I grew up in a trailer behind Bear's truck stop in Belgrade, which is no longer there.
It's too scary to be open anymore.
Yeah, that's right. Like typical, the story of a guy who just left his wife and his kid and blah, blah, blah. It could have gone so many different directions, but the Lord didn't let that happen.
Isn't that wild?
Even though I tried to, I did my best effort to mess it up, in high school and in drama school, he didn't let it happen.
I know you went from A to B to C to double D to like double G, and then you just stayed on track, and we're still going to slip up.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
But the way he does that is absolutely remarkable. Even thinking about like you and I sitting in this same room in Bozeman, Montana, and the crazy like doors that God has opened for me.
Oh, bro.
And then the crazy doors he's opened for you, completely different trajectories.
Right.
Completely different.
Right.
But it's just everyone has stories like that. We all have our own story and our own testimony of how that's gone down. And there's no better way to see it than in conversations like this and thinking like this of looking backwards.
Right.
Because in it right now, the future might look scary, or in it right now, the future might look uncertain. And then you might be worried about a myriad of things.
Sure.
But the nice thing, especially about these long form discussions, and the nice thing about anyone can do this, anyone listening can do it. You've done a great job of doing it on the podcast. And I've talked a lot about this with friends and mentors. But if you just write down or just look back from birth till now,
oh my gosh,
the way that God has provided for you to get you to now,
oh buddy,
is insane.
Yeah, I'd be a mess.
It's insane.
I'd be an absolute mess.
It is nuts.
We actually did that recently with just to remind ourselves of where God has shown up. So we're sort of in this waiting period between season 1 and a potential season 2 for a job that I did down in Albuquerque.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot of waiting, and it's noisy waiting if you let it be, right? So the noise interrupts the currency of time, and it interrupts your availability when you're with someone if you let it. So I try to not make it noisy waiting. I try to make it peaceful waiting, and just accept the fact that it's outside of my control.
Mm-hmm.
But Megan and I wrote down a list of like big prayers that we have had over the years, like a list of like 4. And the columns were like the prayer, how God answered it, what you learned, and the prayer, the outcome, what you learned, and what God did with it.
Mm.
And it was earth shattering,
man.
Because I listened to a sermon about a year ago, and it was brilliant because the premise was we forget so often, and so we keep asking for the same things, or we keep saying to God, "Hey, would you do this thing in my life?" And He's like, "Yo, I've already done that thing in your life.
Mm.
Right? I've already done that." I was that job in Kenya that I told you about at the beginning of the podcast.
Yeah,
I was in Kenya. We were at a game ranch where elephants literally came in and watered in the morning at this place. It was just incredible. You would hear lions and stuff outside the fence at night, and we were in sort of these glamping tents. It was incredible. And I was saying to God, I was asking Him about something about acting. He's like, "I want to do this thing, and this is what I want to do, and I want to act, and I want to do this." And why I'm on a job, right? And He goes, "Philip,
you're on a job.
I've already done it. You're doing it." And it was just like, bro, just stop. Like, be grateful for what you have, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
So good. Yeah.
I know. It makes me think back to how we started the whole thing. Like, we have to rest in being a beloved son with a phenomenal father. And a phenomenal father is not going to give a phenomenal kid the things the kid asks for all the time in the timing expectations that the kid is looking for.
Right.
And the reason the phenomenal father is not going to do that to a phenomenal kid is because it would ruin that phenomenal kid, or the father would give the kid the things that he's asking for far before the kid is ready for them.
Right.
And that is obvious when we look at our kids and how we're raising our kids.
Yep.
But we can easily lose it when we're thinking about God being our father and us being His beloved son in the way that He's fathering us. But it's the same thing going on.
It's the same thing. The same thing.
It's wild.
It's just, it's, that, like you said earlier, like that constant reminder that we got to do this every day. The discipline to get up in the morning and, have some quiet time, spend some time with your father and listen, not just make requests, but listen. Like, that's been a new one for me too. Again, like 44 years old, you think I would have learned this earlier. It's just like, just being still with God.
Mm-hmm.
Just being like, okay, I hope I can hear you. If you have something to say, I hope I can hear you. Although there's another way too. And my wife and I always joke about this, like with mowing the lawn or with gardening. I always hear from God because it's like when I'm doing something to distract me enough, and then God is able to download something, you know, and put it in my life for me. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I got to talk to that person about that. That's right. You know, as I'm bagging clippings, but actively waiting on God. Right. But yeah, being still, waiting for his voice, but it's a discipline. Right. And you know, all these great theologians, you know, you listen to them and they're like, no, you're not always going to feel like it. You're not always going to feel like talking with God and waiting on God and being like, that's not what this is. You have to just be like, all right, God, as much as I can every day, I'm going to spend some time with you.
Yeah.
And some days it's breath prayers. Other days you get a great download. Other days you feel like, oh, that was a really good prayer. Yeah, that ticked all the boxes in terms of the prayers. You know, he doesn't care. But in your head, right? Your performance head.
Yeah.
I ticked all the boxes, Lord. That's a good prayer. And then he'll or you mess up, and that afternoon you mess up with something. He comes through with an answer to prayer, and you're like, wait, I just messed up. Like, yeah, well, you're my son. It's okay. You know, just continuing to turn back.
And blocking out some of these distractions.
Yeah.
It's hard to get these downloads. It's hard to hear God clearly when we're in these major distractive environments or
designed like that.
Yeah, the TV, the phone, the technology. It was like a black and white light switch when we worked in Africa.
Yeah.
You know, no real power, no real running water. We had like flip phones and
razors.
And when we were there, we worshiped every morning and we worshiped every night.
Yeah.
So you worshiped as the sun came up.
That's so good, right?
And you worshiped as the sun went down.
Oh.
All based on music and worshiping.
Yeah.
And then just the preaching on Sunday, but 7 days a week, more
so good,
sun
man.
up and sun down.
Isn't that wild?
Wild.
And they in Africa, they worship.
Oh man.
They just have it in them.
Yeah.
There's this, you just
crying.
go and you're like, oh my gosh, you guys are worshiping the Lord.
Crying.
And it's
to the
wild.
Lord.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when those distractions went away, it was like dreams, vision.
Totally, man.
Voices, not audible, but like downloads.
Yeah. Here's an idea. Here's a thought.
Yeah. And then you have to be careful at home in America because you have to have discipline and intentionally, very, very high discipline, create environments where there's no distraction.
That's right.
And when you do it, it's a game changer.
Oh, it's amazing.
Complete game changer.
Yeah. That part of that turning the phone off is to Sabbath in a way that we couldn't if the phones were on. You know, so Sundays are our Sabbath. And we don't do technology. We read, we hang out, you know, we play with the kids. It's simple. We simplify. And a part of that has really entered our everyday life. We're trying as hard as we can to simplify. And again, something we talked about is to not move the goalpost, right? Not moving the goalpost in your life because the job is crushing. Oh, we're going to just nudge it over here and incorporate the new Land Cruisers. We're going to nudge it over here and maybe buy a second property or something. Not that there's anything wrong with that, right? But like moving the goalpost constantly instead of being satiated and grateful for where you're at. Contentment is man, I remember my mother-in-law saying that to me once. She was like, contentment is a blessing. And I was like, okay. And then over the years, that's really percolated and really landed. I'm like, oh, dude, contentment is massive. It's a massive blessing. And you have to be careful, right? Like, because we're broken, like laziness. No, contentment, not complacency. I'm working hard. Things are going as well as we can. And yeah, I'm going to keep pushing, but I'm also really happy, right? I can spend time with my kids, spend time with buddies, go rattlesnake hunting every once in a while.
You have time to jump in on a rattlesnake hunt. Man, that was fun.
That's so wild.
It's just like walking into the unknown. I'd never been on an official rattlesnake
Okay,
hunt.
I was going to say, you never done that? No, it's great.
That was awesome.
Great, man.
Such an amazing day.
Liz was really kind. It was great.
Yeah, thanks for jumping on. Thanks for spending the day with me.
Dude, I really appreciate it, man.
It's awesome.
It's been really it's been, as a friend, it's been amazing to watch you guys thrive, and you personally as well. Like, I can see that you're in your zone, and you're inside your pleasant boundaries in a really healthy way. And it's beautiful, man. Like, cause you're just going from strength to strength. It's really cool, dude. It's really cool to see. And, praying for you and wish you all the best. Cause it's just like, it's awesome. It's awesome to see a buddy going through that.
Thanks, brother. Yeah, I appreciate that. And same to you. You've definitely inspired me big time, like in that area of patience, because I'm a super patience is not my strong suit at all.
It's not mine either, but I have to.
I'm inspired by your patience. It's phenomenal.
Oh, thanks, brother. I really appreciate that. I have a swing thought that gets me through the days sometimes when I'm not patient, and it was from this great podcast called Bema, which was it's like a Hebraic deep dive into Scripture, Old Testament, New Testament. And I'm not sure if it was Marty Solomon who runs it. I'm not sure if it was his quote, but he said, in the beginning, God separated the light from the dark, and that is forever our task as well. And I was like, okay. When I got some time, let's separate the light from the dark.
Yeah.
Right? That's the job.
Just separate the light from the dark. It's so good.
So good, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's just like a mission that'll get you fired up every day.
Get you through your life.
Regardless of what's going on.
If that's your swing thought, that's a good one.
So good.
Yeah.
I know lately I've just been praying, like, just speak, Lord, your servant is listening.
Oh, that's good.
Because really, as I've gotten older, I just want what God wants.
100%.
And if I don't know what he wants, I want to know what he wants. And if I hear from him and know that's what he wants, that's what I'm going to do.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
And so lately it's just been like, just speak. Your servant is listening. Just speak.
I love that. That's a good one.
And then if I hear it, that's what I'm going to do.
I'm going to, no matter what.
Because the rest doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And the rest is going to lead to no fulfillment.
Right.
And so you got to hear it. You got to start to hear some signs of where you're supposed to go. Yeah. And once I hear it, I just want to go that route, and I just want to hear it more and more than ever before.
And do you find that it's more digestible, more, you can hear it clearer the more time you spend with him? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the more time you spend in good fellowship, in worship, reading Scripture, listening to good podcasts, like you're like, okay, you get those downloads and you're like, that was definitely the Lord. Yeah. Because I think a lot of it sometimes, I talk with buddies about this all the time. You're like, oh, maybe was it just my inner dialogue? But there's like a peace. There's that still, steady voice.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
Okay. That's the direction. Let's go.
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, love you, man. Thank you.
Thank you for this.
Appreciate it.
Really appreciate you, bro.
That was awesome.
That was fun.
Thanks so much for listening, everyone. What a phenomenal conversation with Philip. As you can hear, he is a man on fire for God. He's a very faith-based individual. And remember, every single episode, we are looking for that golden nugget. What can we take away from this episode and apply to our lives right away so that we have that practical approach? What can we apply today, tomorrow, this evening, so that we see that life change? The big golden nugget for me talking to Philip today was that quote that he mentioned towards the beginning. And it's that quote of, we should be living much, much bigger lives if we understood how much God is taking care of us and providing for us. There's really not much to fear, not much to be scared of. So we should be taking much, much bigger risks. That was a great, great golden nugget from Philip, a phenomenal day with him. Before we wrap up, just want to let you guys know about the giveaway. The giveaway alert for this month is winning a pair of Sig Sauer Zulu 6 stabilized binos. These things go on the market at MSRP for $1,100. And I just want to make sure you guys all get entered. All you need to do to enter that giveaway is click the link below here in the podcast if you're on YouTube, like the podcast video, and make sure you are subscribed to the Mountain Tough Podcast channel. Comment on the full podcast video, and we'll select a winner from the comment section on YouTube, and would love to see you guys win those binos. Thanks for being here. Love you guys, and we'll see you on the next episode.